Hello and welcome to The Other Marthas, the show where a drama student and a film graduate try to make sense of things we wish we were qualified in instead, with an emphasis on history, mystery and all things morbid. A quick disclaimer before we get started, we don't claim to be experts in any of the fields we'll be discussing, so while everything we say will be based on individual research, it's all a bit of fun and we suggest that you take everything we say with a pinch of salt. I'm Martha, I'm the drama student.
And I'm the other Martha, the film graduate.
So Martha, what are we talking about today?
Today, Martha, I am telling you about the bizarre animal trials of the medieval period.
Oh my god, that sounds brilliant.
Isn't it fun? Just a little warning for people. I know that we put warnings and stuff in the video description and in the notes, but obviously this is about animals on trial, and so there's a bit of animal cruelty in there, if that bothers anybody.
Yeah, if you're affiliated with PETA, you might want to clock out.
What's that? Oh, right, PETA, right.
Yeah, PETA. PETA. Yeah, not having a go at veganism, by the way, in the slightest. Just an organisation's being weird.
I was asked the other day if I was allergic to shellfish, and I was
Nice.
like, oh, I wouldn't know. I like them. Because I love crabs and lobsters and things as friends and creatures, so I don't want to eat them.
That's interesting.
Octopuses as well. I'd never eat an octopus.
So would you say, I mean, what would happen if you got really close to a cow? Would you stop eating?
Well, I wouldn't eat that cow.
Okay. But in general, you're fairly confident in the fact that you don't find cows great in general enough to
I think they're lovely. And actually, I've mostly stopped eating beef, just like every now and then here and there, but generally I have lentils instead.
Brilliant.
Or I know Martha's shocked because our entire lives I've been anti-lentil.
Yeah, and I'm very pro lentil. I'm pleased and proud and a little smug.
And I what else? Oh, like I have the like veggie burgers and stuff. And burgers is my favourite food, and veggie burgers. What I like about veggie burgers is after you've had a meat burger, sometimes it's a bit like, ooh, that was a lot of something.
It sits heavy in your stomach, doesn't it?
Yeah. Whereas like after a veggie burger, it's like, oh, I could frolic in a field. Anyway.
Fibrous goodness. Tell me about these animal trials. They sound fantastic.
I know. Okay, well, a bit of history about animal trials and also trials of objects and possessions, because for a long time...
yes, I've just remembered something about
that. For a long time throughout history, animals have been viewed as possessions, and if you accidentally ran someone's, well, I feel like it's similar nowadays, it's slightly different, but like if you run over someone's sheep, like obviously you're not to the like sheep's mother, you aren't like, oh, I'm so sorry, it's to the farmer, because the farmer
and you like compensate them rather than being imprisoned
for murder. Yeah, because it's like, oops, I killed your sheep, not oops, I murdered a creature. Anyway, so
imagine no, well, I just realised how insensitive this is. Sorry. I was just thinking, what if, if you murdered someone's child and you're like, I'm so sorry, I appear to have murdered your child. Allow me to compensate you with the value that it held to you.
Well, that's different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Than a sheep.
Children are not, well, they're different from animals. Don't kill them.
Really? Okay. So anyway, because... so this episode is going to be a bit of a short story collection of various trials, and I thought to start off we would go all the way back to ancient Greece to dissect an early trial surrounding an object.
Okay.
Have we discussed this before on the podcast?
No, but I have this really specific image, which I'm pretty sure is of a Greek trial of an object from one of Terry Deary's fabulous horrible history books. So I hope it's that.
Well, it probably is. Okay, so just for everybody, but what I'm doing here, just in case anyone needs a little catch up, a little just a reminder, what I'm doing here is I'm linking why am I doing this? I'm linking the fact that animals and objects, there's a tradition. In ancient Greece, there was the belief that a miasma, there's no pause there. between me defending
I'm still
my
catching up on
position.
why you're like defending your use of
Because
language.
it's weird because I've said animal trials and now I'm
It's
going to
true.
tell you about an object. But I just want to tell you about weird trials, specifically animals, but just a little segue to get you into the mood
Great,
initially
I'm
in
with you.
ancient Greece. I'm glad. So, in ancient Greece, there was a belief that when someone was killed, that a miasma was released.
What do you mean by a miasma exactly?
I don't know. I think like a ghost, but the word miasma is what was used in the BBC documentary I listened to. But I think
Interesting.
a phantom, a ghost, a spirit, an energy,
Yeah, all right, okay.
is released and needs closure to not
I
be
see.
spooky.
Mm.
So therefore, whatever killed the person would be ceremoniously tried.
Mhm.
And so there's this story, and also like, you know, I'm not a classicist in case you're confused. I'm not. And so I'm going to pronounce these names how I want
Oh
to.
no, okay.
And so there was this chronicler called Pausanias. Perfect. And I'm not trying again. And
you've
he
engineered this
wrote,
so I can't ask any questions because I have no idea what any of them are called. Right, so when
you'll be fine. Yeah. Wrote in his description of Greece the story of Theagenes.
sounds about right.
Oh, she's a scholar. Thasos, who was a famous boxer, and he was actually rumored to be Hercules' son.
Ooh, God, that's a good
Probably
rumor to have
wasn't.
going for you.
I know. So he was like super famous, loads of victories, including winning in the Olympics, and also had loads of like bitter little sausages who were following him around, like, oh, I wish I could be as good as Theagenes, but I'm
Always.
not. And after his death, a statue of him was built, and one of his rivals every night would go up to the statue and would spend his evening flogging it as a form of redemption for himself.
Oh my God.
And one night when this man, what is this? Oh, it's just my face. I've got a weird lump on my, it's just my face.
Oh.
I thought it was like falling out of my nose, but it's just my face.
Just the rest of your nose.
Yeah. Oh God. People have an old image of me now. So
that
one
reminds
night,
me of something. Sorry, it's completely irrelevant. Do you want me to tell a tiny story or not? Your choice.
Let me finish these 4 lines of the tale,
Great.
and then if you feel it's still relevant, you let me know.
Will do.
So one night, the statue fell on the man and killed him.
Oh no. Well, I mean, it sort of serves him right. He was whipping the bollocks out of it.
Yeah. And
karma,
the man's
really.
son, the man's sons took the case to court and won that their father had been murdered by the boxer, well, by the statue. And in recompense, the statue was thrown into the sea to be returned to the gods.
Wow.
And by that, justice was served, and the man's miasma would no longer haunt.
Oh, that's great. That's it's different actually from the one that I know. Although looking back on it, it was one of those cartoon panels that they had in the Terry Deary books.
Oh yeah.
So I think it might have been hypothetical, like saying, "Did you know that objects used to be able to be tried?" And then it's like, "What do you have to say for yourself, knife?" Because the idea being that the murderer could pass the blame onto the object that actually inflicted the damage, sort of thing. And then they toss the knife in the sea. It's not a good story, to be honest.
If somebody who hated the fact that the guy was flogging the statue snuck down one night and pushed the statue or weakened it in a way to fall on him,
Good
they
point.
got away with murder. My thought, though, is that the state or whoever was in charge of making sure the statue was secure got away with murder.
Because that's like nowadays you'd sue for compensation or whatever it's called, wouldn't you? Like you do if you're like, I tripped over in the road because this piece of concrete was sticking up. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
What's the council doing with its road filling?
But I don't know whether they could probably in the trial say like, okay, but he was whipping the statue, which probably like could have
That's
caused
true.
damage.
Like if you were like, I claim compensation because I've tripped over this piece of concrete. Oh, what were you doing at the time? Well, I was taking a pickaxe to the concrete. Well,
Well, what was your tale? Does it still feel relevant?
well, not really, but I could say it at this point, and you can cut it out.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, it's basically just because you were talking about thinking something was coming out of your nose, and it was in fact your nose. Just reminded me of this worm that exists. That I don't know what it's called, but what it does is it sneezes out its own nose, and it looks, yeah, it looks like snot, but it's not. It is its nose, and it's like, whoosh, and all these tendrils go out, and I think it uses that to sort of sense if prey's nearby or something, and then it just slips it all back in. It's absolutely disgusting.
I feel like there's a lot of beasts that like sort of go outside in.
Yeah,
I mean the other way around,
yeah.
inside out.
Yeah.
For reasons.
You've got sea cucumbers. You've got, well, there are definitely other ones, but I can't remember because we did this on a quiz one time, didn't we?
We did, yes.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that seem to vomit out bits of themselves, and apparently it works.
Yum yum. Okay, so that's a trial in ancient Greece.
Great.
However, the idea of objects being responsible and blamed for things continued into medieval Europe, where there was this law called diadand, which is basically that the object or the value of the object has to be given to the state and thereby given to God. So, for example, there was a washerwoman who fell face first into a boiling vat, and then the guy who tried to save her also fell into the boiling vat, and then a third guy came and managed to get them out, but they were both dead by that point. And
my God,
the value of the vat had to be given by the town or the owner of the vat to the royal people or the church, because then that money is then like given to God, and then it kind of removes the sin from the object. It's kind
smells like church corruption to me.
Oh no, did a woman in your village get boiled in a vat? You have to pay us now.
Pay us tax. Yeah.
But
oh God, I understand the logic of that, but that's bizarre.
It's weird, isn't it? And it's just a thing that happens, like, trip and fall on the concrete, pay the state. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's literally the opposite. Yeah.
Sometimes they would just give the object to the state or the church.
I love that. Just a load of murder weapons lined up in the church, like, and this is the relic of St. Andrew. And here we have like 15 poison darts and an AK-47.
No, when it's an object that did the murder rather than a person, Martha.
I suppose an AK-47 is
it doesn't generally operate itself. Yeah. Historians generally believe that the idea of diadang comes from the desire for justice to be served. And a lot of justice in this time period came from the church. And
again.
Yeah. And so onto the animals. There were two kind of trials for animals. There were ecclesiastical and secular trials. And the ecclesiastical trials are so fun. So basically it is a ceremony that would be performed by a priest against large numbers of animals, generally insects. So there's one story of a group of snails that invaded a field, and the priest came and did like incantations in Latin, basically basically performing a kind of exorcism on snails. And I think that because at this time, people didn't generally have an idea of animals as being sentient in any way.
Mm,
So it was like, and I feel like with insects, there's some argument for that even now, where it's like, oh, well, they're doing that because they want to eat, but they aren't
mm.
thinking, that looks a lovely corn. They're just like,
Yeah,
food. This
yeah,
is food for snail.
yeah.
Um, but because of this, they kind of had an idea that all animals were put on Earth for humans to use,
Mm,
and God controls all the animals. And so
yeah.
it makes sense that if God's put 100 snails in your field, that you say, "Hey, God, no, move these
No, thank
snails,
you.
please."
These
Yeah,
snails are not
and
serving me as they should.
yeah,
You
basically.
wake up the
And
next
so
morning after a really good prayer session and there's like the snails are pulling your chariot for you. You're like, thank you, this is all I wanted.
such a slow chariot.
Yeah.
And then if you started going down a hill on your chariot, you would crush all of your snails.
What a horrific image.
It's so slippery.
Oh,
I once, this is one of the worst moments of my life,
oh no.
was I was walking in the garden and I crushed one snail that was in the middle of mating
Oh
with
no.
another snail,
Oh.
and I was like, oh no, how traumatizing for the other snail. And so I was trying to pull them apart, and that's how I learned how snails mate.
Oh my god. What, so you were
There's
trying
sort
to
of a
pull them
tube.
apart so that like the other snail was spared, realizing that it was now
Yes.
doing the do with the dead snail? My
Of
god.
course. Of course that's why. I wasn't just like, "Oh, well, don't let him have his fun." I was like, "I
I'm
need to
not just
stop
gonna kill
this."
you, I'm gonna stop your friend getting off.
Well, of course. I mean, you wouldn't want to feel responsible for that.
No, you wouldn't. I appreciate your level of kind of protection for the snail's psyche there, but that's
Yeah, like
horrible.
after
Oh,
I've just said snails have no understanding,
yeah.
I've been like, I must protect it.
From the guilt and trauma. Like the
I
time
can't have
I
another
chopped an
snail
earwig in
in.
half and then tried to perform a mercy kill and it wouldn't die, so I had to like squeeze it to death in toilet paper. It was horrible.
Yeah,
Probably
I can
worse for the
imagine that.
earwig, to be fair. I reckon I got off lightly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it depends how you feel about animal sentience, I suppose. Again, if you're a member of
I
PETA,
I definitely think that insects are different.
yeah, well, just they just seem well. I was gonna say they seem to be so much simpler life forms in many ways, especially like mollusks. It's like you're basically an amoeba. You're just big, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying
Hopefully,
I
they
should
feel
like people
nothing.
should just willy-nilly go and kill beasts,
No, but don't go crying about
insects.
it.
Although I d- two stories. I killed a black widow spider because she was in my house and she was a black widow.
Oh my
The problem
god!
was I scooped her up, and then in absolute fear, instead of putting her out of a window, I put her in the toilet and
Oh,
like tried to flush her down the toilet,
oh no!
but my toilet was blocked
Oh.
and I didn't know. And so she like rose to the top and she came swimming back to me, and I was like, "Oh god, this is horrible. This is awful. Why did I do this?"
Oh no!
Because she was trying to survive, and that makes murder
That's so much
difficult.
worse. Yeah, yeah.
And
If you just sit down and take it, it would be so much easier for everyone involved.
and then the second one was I found a very bizarre channel on YouTube,
Oh
which
no!
is basically this guy pours molten metal into ant hills.
Oh, God, I've
Um
seen this, and it's like, wow, such beautiful art, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa! What the hell have you done?
yeah, because it's like I find it interesting to see the
Like the
pattern that they've
networks, yeah.
created. Very interesting. But in that molten metal, there are like 100 tiny ants that have been like
It's
burned
horrific.
in the metal. Yeah, so I find it interesting to see, but also the ants that are like, there's always like 3 or 4 little ants on the hill, not in, and they like they
Oh.
don't understand what's happening, but everyone they've ever loved and known is about to die.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty. I increasingly I'm really hoping that insects feel nothing ever. Because
Yeah.
yeah, otherwise it's a bit crap, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like they probably don't above like chemicals. You know how they're like,
Mm.
"Oh, and this is who we mate with." I don't think they're like in love and married.
No, neither do I.
Anyway, after asking can ants feel love, let's talk about the secular trials that were held.
Yes, please.
So, there were also secular trials held in court with a judge, lawyers, and inquisitors, as well as often an executioner,
Oh my
which
god.
therefore suggests that this isn't like a silly game. Like,
Mm.
people actually believe God put snails in my field, and people believe that the animals need to stand trial for what they've
Yeah,
done.
this is one of those occasions I genuinely didn't think. I thought it was going to be here's the ecclesiastical trial, and it's a little bizarre by modern standards, and here's the secular trial, and it makes slightly more sense. And I've been proven absolutely wrong by that. The atheists were also nuts.
It makes no sense. Well, also,
Mm,
we can get onto it, but animals, for example, if your dog kills somebody,
mm,
your dog is put down. However,
mm.
generally, the owner's the one that goes to court if there
Yeah.
is some sort of debate and it needs to be debated. Generally, they are just put down.
Mm.
Um, and I know that dogs can't defend themselves in court, but I kind of wish in some ways that, like, if your dog bit someone, it could like appear in court and like look sorry. Not if it killed someone, but if it bit someone, it could be like,
I
please don't
Yeah, I was
kill
gonna
me.
say, to
I'm
be
too
fair though,
cute.
I don't know if
Kind
this
of
does
give them a
happen, but
chance.
yeah, if it's a case of like, oh, it bit someone because it was spooked or whatever, then it having a chance to defend itself in terms of the owner proving that it has it under control, that they have it under control, in terms of, hey, the dog will sit and stop barking and lie down and let it go up to you and lick your hand, Your Honor. Ah, isn't it cute?
Yeah.
But I
I
don't
think if
know if
it
that's the
killed
thing.
I think if it killed someone, that's different. But I
Oh
don't know.
yeah,
There's
fully,
something
yeah.
about But I think there's something about allowing a beast to represent themselves in court or appear in court and be defended by a lawyer that's quite sweet. So,
Mhm.
um,
Sure.
yeah. So, a lot of the evidence that we have about the animal trials were gathered by Victorian historian E.P. Evans. Now, he's also obviously Victorians and medieval people are from very different time periods.
Mhm.
So he's not contemporary, but he's the one who everybody will turn to. He wrote a book about it. I can't remember what it's called. And
Fun.
he found that pigs were the creature most frequently brought to trial.
Oh no.
And
They're like the most
he
sentient animals as well, of
well,
the regularly
aside from
farmed kind.
humans. Yeah,
Oh
yes,
yeah.
yeah. Well, they're proven to be very intelligent, aren't they?
Mm.
And I once met some piglets and they were delightful, but their mother was absolutely terrifying. And I can see how they could kill. So
Oh wow.
the reason that Evans suggests why pigs were so often brought to trial
Mm.
was because due to the large number of pigs kept in villages in medieval Europe and the freedom that they were allowed.
Mm.
So apparently, instead of like penning them up and being like, stay here, pigs, there were just
Oh no.
gangs of pigs roaming the streets, just biting
Handing
people
out
because they are
anarchist
vicious.
leaflets.
Yeah, but pigs are vicious. Like my
Yeah.
cousin has a farm and they got some like pigs that were kind of pet pigs, as in
Oh.
like they live like closer to the house and they raised them from piglets and all of that.
Yeah.
And when they became actual pigs, they were horrible. Like they would
Oh,
bite the children. They're just very, very rude creatures.
aye.
Which
I
makes
mean,
sense because if they're related to boars,
yeah, I was gonna say they're descended from boars and hogs and all the tusky fellas that predators avoid. Yeah. Although saying that, I was once in Sardinia, um, and I was on a walk, and genuinely, a herd of about 30 wild boar, just it was suddenly were around me, and I sat down, and they came up to me, and I stroked them. This genuinely happened, and then my parents came up behind me, and they ran away. It was amazing, but
well,
I
that's
wouldn't
very
recommend.
sweet. Not all pigs.
Yeah, no, hashtag not all pigs.
However,
Not all, it's
these
like that
pigs,
hashtag not all men are pigs. Not all pigs are nice. I don't know.
not all pigs will bite your child's face off, but a lot of them will.
Yeah, let's not risk it.
No,
Make
pen
them into
up.
brisket.
Oh God. So,
I'm really proud
I have
of
a
myself.
couple now of court dramas.
Sorry, I'm really happy about my pun. Go on, your court dramas. I've calmed down now.
Okay, well, I'm glad. So in 1450 in Burgundy, a sow and her piglets were arrested for the murder of a child.
Oh my god.
So silly. Because, like, normally now, if you thought a pig had murdered a child, you would just have the pig killed. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be like, we need to give this pig the opportunity to defend itself. And that's
the pig will be
weird
like,
bit.
the child insulted my mother and threatened me with execution. What was I to do? I have piglets to fend for.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so, allegedly,
Oh, our favourite word.
because I don't want to get sued by the sow, allegedly, the sow broke into the house and bit the child's neck and face,
Oh
which
god.
killed the child.
I mean, that would be a
And
horrible way to go.
for sure, pigs. I mean, look, they're intelligent, fine, but they look absolutely hideous. Like,
They
as
are
piglets,
like Satan itself.
as piglets and as lambs, pigs and lambs, very, very cute.
Agreed.
But when they get to adulthood, it's like, oh, are you of the devil?
It's a shame, isn't it? Maybe, oh, again,
It's
I
so
don't believe this,
scary.
but you can see why people kill them young. That's really dark.
What, so
But, like,
before they get ugly?
yeah, it's just
But they
let
are
you live the part of
scary.
your life where you're all right. Yeah, they are. There's and
The
there are so many
snout.
breeds that are,
Ugh.
God, have if you've ever seen kuna pigs, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. They're these African, I was going to say land pigs, as opposed to the sea pigs we all know so well.
Well, some swim.
That's true. That's true. Actually, I think all can swim, can't they? They just
I don't know.
don't always because there's not water around. But kuna pigs, they're African pigs. It roughly translates as fat round pigs. They're huge and just like really hairy and black. And the sound they make, I'll approximate as well as I can now. It's something like
Oh my God, that's horrible.
It's terrifying. There's a wildlife park near where I live in term time. And it's a fantastic wildlife park. One thing you can do is pet the kuna pigs. And I went and I was like, oh wow, yay, we love pigs. Went to pet them and they kind of looked at me and went and their fat rolls cover their eyes, so they look like something out of a sort of out of a Miyazaki film, you know, where it's just overly grotesque. And they're amazing and absolutely horrifying. So I can see why that would be terrifying.
Yeah, my recent encounter with pigs, I was on a holiday and it was like we went to this like National Trust house and they had some pigs there. and the piglets were so cute. Even the slightly young, like a yearling pig,
Mm.
cute,
Mm.
playing with a pebble to entertain itself, wanted to
Oh.
eat Pringles, adorable. And then out comes the mother, and it's like a nightmare beast from hell. And it's
It feels
like,
like they should come
how
out
did
to the
this
Darth
happen?
Vader theme. 'Cause they're so like,
She was
boom.
terrifying, and she came out all oinky and scary and, like, rounded up her babies that were being so
Oh,
sweet, and I was like, "Oh, I hate pigs, they're so scary."
interesting. What are your thoughts on pigs, everybody? I
Sheeps
have
have
a love-hate
scary eyes as
relationship with
well.
them. They do. They're blank and they're like fish because I think this
I
is
hate them.
and actually this is interesting because sheep have eyes like on the sides of their faces, and to me that's what's freaky about them.
But no,
It
no,
looks
it's the
like,
pupil that freaks me.
oh really? Oh,
Mm.
yeah, I can
Ooh,
see
I
that.
hate it. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, and I've encountered so many sheeps and goats and everything, and I just hate them so much.
Yeah, I can see that. I see, I've petted sheep before and I like that. Um, I think that's just the contact with a living being, to be honest. But honestly, um, but to me, they look like they should be fish because as soon as you get near them, you're like, why are your eyes on either side of your face? But that's a nugget of information where apparently it's if you're a prey animal, you
Yeah, for
normally have
sure.
eyes on the sides of your face so that you can see people coming, whereas well, predators coming. Whereas if you're a predator animal, you'll probably have them in front of your face because you're honing in on the thing you're going to pounce on. You don't need to look around. Um, and that's why fish and birds also have on the sides of their heads because their predators could come from up or down as well as
Oh,
side to
yeah,
side. So they need
true,
to be like
true.
super duper, wow, I can see everything. Um, but it's then interesting because pigs have pretty front facing eyes, really, don't they?
Yeah, well, we'll
Just
find out
shows
why.
savage. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Killers.
Wow, this has been derailed.
Absolute killers.
So tell me about these murdering pigs.
Oh my gosh, such a tangent.
Yeah.
Um, yes, so they were arrested for murdering a child. At the trial, 8 witnesses appeared and testified that they saw the sow enter the house and murder the child. Why didn't they stop her?
Yeah, Jesus Christ, like why? What on earth? Surely, like all of those 8 people, I'd be like, well, you're going down for being an
Like,
accessory to murder.
I understand if it was one person, like if I saw a pig enter a house, I
You'd
might
be like,
try
oh
and
my
find a
god.
person. Well, no, I'd try and find, I'd be like, hey, guys, a pig's gone in your house. But I would not
No.
necessarily manhandle the pig.
No.
Um, if they are also known to be so vicious and awful. But
Agreed.
if it's 8 people, why can 8 people not corral a pig?
Yeah.
He
That's
may have also been more
dreadful.
angry because of her babies, but I can't accept that.
No. Wow. That's
Um,
horrible.
so the piglets also appeared at trial.
Oh.
Um, However, they were released on bail back to the farmer.
Unveil!
Yes, because there wasn't any evidence to suggest that the piglets had taken part in the murder,
Mm,
and they were released on bail with the promise from the farmer that if further evidence was appeared or
mm.
was discovered that they had had something to do with killing the child, that they would be returned to the court.
Oh God. It's so
Um,
silly.
Unfortunately for the sow, she was sentenced to death,
It's probably
and
about right.
the way yeah, and the which yes, it's right, like, even nowadays, if a pig kills a child, the pig should be killed. I'm sorry to all the pig lovers
Yeah,
out
it's
there, they
not the
shouldn't
pig's
murder
fault,
children.
but for safety.
Yes, it isn't well, the pig, I don't think has evil intentions, but if it's
Mm.
an animal that is likely to "I've killed before, I'll kill again," says the pig, we should probably say, "Hey, maybe let's."
Yeah, the pig is
You
looking at pictures
can't.
of other babies and dribbling and like
Oh my god.
red painting red X's with its hooves.
Trotters, I believe is the word.
Oh right, you are.
That's what I have an issue with that. Yes, so the way that the animals were generally killed back in the day,
Mm,
and by back in the day I don't mean in the good old days, I just mean in the past,
yeah.
was they would hang them. There was one
Oh,
place, I don't remember where, but they would
nasty.
hang them by their back legs. Um
What? Until they just just died of being upside down.
Well, I think because if you hang upside down for too long, all the blood rushes to your head and then you die.
Yeah. Oh,
Because that happened to a
horrible.
man. There was also evidence that they would, as well as hanging them, the other option for killing them was burning them alive.
Why is it so barbaric? Like, just
I think it's because at the time that's the punishment. That's the punishment for humans, though, Martha. When they
and
kill
for
somebody,
some reason they decided animals had the same agency.
you
but
hang them
time,
or you burn them to death, don't you? In the Middle Ages, if someone's killed.
The Middle Ages, like, they just had no entertainment, so it's what they did, is how it seems to me. It's like they wrote songs, they died early, and if they didn't die early, they killed someone else horribly.
Well, also, you know, nobody could read or write, so they were all just like, I don't know, can we find a pig
Yeah, there's
to
nothing
kill?
to do after dark. Here's a double whammy. Let's make a fire and burn someone on it.
The other thing that I've discovered is that there was a cow who was executed for something. I think it killed someone. And it was decreed that the cow had to be buried unflayed, suggesting that generally the animals that had unflayed though. And so that suggests that the meat of these animals was not like consumed by humans.
Well, maybe they thought it was evil.
Yeah, they did. They thought it was tainted with evil. But it makes sense. But also, I don't feel like the medieval times were like a time of prosperity.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like a cow's worth of beef. Food. That's like, have some burgers, so calm down.
But that again shows how seriously they take everything.
Yeah, true. So God, imagine that, like imagine being the farmer who's like depending on this cow, like this is their prize cow that they're gonna take to market. It's gonna go for loads of money because they've got so many cuts of meat on it, and then you have the shame of your cow being tried and executed for murder, and you can't even sell the meat. It's just like, cow, you have ruined me. It's horrible.
I would love that. You know, like when the cow's like at its execution date, the farmer like goes up to the cow and it's like his goodbye, and he's like, "Cow, you have ruined me." And the cow's like, "Oh, so sorry.
You were no cow of mine."
Well, talking about sympathizing with the farmer, we have another case from 1379, September 5th. In a French monastery, 2 herds of pigs grew agitated and killed a man called, I believe it's Perinois Muet, but it's spelled Perinot Muet. So, you know, but with the French, I would imagine Perinois.
If it's it would be Perrinot, essentially, in an English accent.
Perrinot. Yeah. Okay, cool. So they murdered Perrinot, and
poor fella.
However, only 3 of the pigs were actually involved in the murder. Again, people witnessed it, and I suppose when it's 2 herds of pigs and he's in the pen, it's a different situation.
Yeah, I think I would hold
one
back.
Pig entering a house. So only 3 of the pigs killed the man, and many of the pigs watched the murder. So
that's almost pigs were weirder, because you can imagine it's like, oh, food, cool, but the rest of them are like, oh, this is quite nice. Let's just let's get move your trotters, mate. Let's get a good wide lens on that. Like, that's weirder.
What?
Sorry.
Well,
pig I don't think murder perverts.
Okay, so anyway, well, you will have enjoyed this trial because you projected
not from my no.
Pervert.
I don't enjoy watching murder. Well, I wouldn't know. I've never watched a murder, and I consider myself fortunate.
Don't think you would.
No, I don't think I would.
Knowing you, I don't think you would.
No, I think that would be the opposite of my response.
I think if I thought one of my friends would enjoy watching a murder, I don't think I would be friends with them. I think I'd distance myself.
It's a very good point.
So, they were all put on trial for murder and all sentenced to death. Because the pigs that witnessed the murder were yelling and made quote aggressive actions, showing quote that they approved of the assault, end quote.
Oh my God.
So they were cheering them on. And
Yeah,
so
stick him.
the friar,
Yeah.
who was called Friar, again, French pronunciation, not my best. I'm going to do it just the way I would, and then you can tell me.
Okay.
Humbert de Poutier.
That's fine.
He wrote to the Duke of Burgundy begging him to pardon the onlooking pigs due to the financial loss he and the monastery would suffer. And the Duke agreed, and only the 3 murderers were killed.
I have no idea how to feel about that. I think I'm pleased.
But if you, yeah, the thing is I think, like, it's not the pig's fault that they're in the pen, and also
I was going to say, what was
I
he
think
doing?
they're,
Like,
well, he was
riling up
probably
some pigs
feeding
in
or
pen?
fell in or something.
True.
But
Yeah, not to victim blame. I'm sure Perrineau was
what
not
was he doing
trying
in a
to-
pen of pigs anyway to get murdered? It's like, well, he couldn't have anticipated it. Well, he could
Yeah,
have. Because there were a lot
presumably,
of
if he thought it was going to
murders
happen, he
by
wouldn't have
pigs.
done it.
And also, people at the time didn't have a massive understanding, I would suggest, of animals' body language. So maybe the pigs were yelling because they're freaking out, because they're frightened. And so
Probably a bit of
people who
everything.
watched were like, oh my God, they're being so aggressive, but they're actually freaking out because...
Yeah, do you think, I'm interested that you think that people might not have had as good a grasp of animal body language, because I think I can see both ways, because on the one hand, at that time we were still quite reliant on, beasts of burden and such, and I worked with them in a slightly closer relationship in that sense. We were more reliant on them, but
Yeah.
and therefore like maybe could trace connections back to the day when animals and humans worked in harmony in a sense. But on the other hand, yeah, we didn't have like animal psychologists and behavioral experts to
I think
really study it.
Yeah, I think my thought is that because like it's the late 1300s, which is a more violent time
Oh
than,
yeah, now.
and more
Well,
people
yeah.
are more exposed, but people are more exposed to violence and death and all of this.
For sure.
And so, like, and also they didn't think that animals had any sort of soul or any kind of understanding beyond being there for us.
Yeah.
And so my thought is that if they saw 3 pigs killing someone and loads of other pigs yelling, they'd immediately be like, those pigs are goading the murder.
Yeah.
Whereas now that we are more understanding of animals and how they behave, because you know how a long time ago, if a dog like growls, and even now people are like, oh my God, what an aggressive dog. And it's like, he's frightened.
He feels threatened.
He's
Yeah,
scared. Yeah, it's not he hates you, it's they're frightened and this is
true.
how they
I
act.
guess
So that's my thought.
Yeah, and the thought might have been more like, oh, pig bad, pig good, like pig is in sty eating slop, big pig good, and then it's like pig is yelling, whatever, whether it's scared or whatever, that's a pig bad situation, like I don't want to be with that pig right now situation.
Well, that's the thing. And also, like, to be fair to the people, I think if I saw a whole bunch of pigs screaming in a pen and then some of them were eating a human, I'd be like, oh my God, all of those pigs are horrifying. Because I'm already scared of pigs. So I wouldn't be like immediately feel sympathetic to them. But I feel like maybe some animal, pig psychologist people might now be like, oh, they were probably scared. But at the time, I don't think people had the understanding that animals had like a certain depth of emotion. Yeah,
that's fair. So and also, to be fair, they might have been right, they might have been aggressive, probably.
Oh yeah, they could have been. They could have been like going, yeah, go on, rip his throat out. They could have. I don't know, I wasn't there, funnily enough. But you'll notice in this case that the pigs are pardoned because of the financial loss to the monastery as well as the individual farmer. And so again, it's the church.
Always the church. Well, the church was pretty big in medieval times. It was like big.
They loved
everything is church.
Okay, I just want to quickly tell you about 2 other pigs that we don't have a lot more detail on, but they're just so fun and silly. One pig was hanged for eating a church wafer, because they're like sacred and it's a pig. And another
one, the pig in like its Sunday best bonnet. Body of Christ, don't mind if I do.
Yeah, and then another one was executed for eating a child, quote, although it was Friday, which Friday was a holy day. So not that it ate a child, but that it especially was bad because it was a holy day that it ate a child.
Although it was Friday.
As though the pig was like, oh, I really want to eat this child, but unfortunately for me, it's Friday, so I won't.
Oh, that's so odd.
It's just so weird. So now we get on to an odd little case. It isn't just pigs who've been on trial. This case is so weird.
All right.
So in 1750, you'll notice 1750. We are no longer in the Dark Ages.
No. We're in the
In
super duper enlightened times of.
oh my gosh, I cannot with these place names and people names. Okay.
Sound out.
I can't. There's a V in the middle of it between two consonants. What is that?
Wrong is what that is.
I've written it wrong. It's Van Vres near Paris.
Valet.
Could be. Who knows? The people that live there, including one man who lived there who was called Jacques Ferron, and a female donkey were tried together for engaging in intimate actions with one another. There's this weird thing, generally, if a human and an animal were caught at it with one another, the animal was also held responsible as though they wanted to be part of that.
Also, like, if they did, I mean, they can't, like, they don't have the comprehension to be like, there's something a bit off about this. Like, they'll Roger their sister in an instant. They just don't have the same.
So anyway,
oh dear,
the people in this trial felt differently from you, and many people, including the prior of the local convent, appeared to give character witness not for Jacques but for the donkey.
That's so sweet. Oh, unless they were like, this donkey was a horny bucker from the start. Always knew she was a slag.
No. So the prior is quoted as saying, she had always shown herself to be virtuous and well behaved, both at home and abroad, and had never given occasion of scandal to anyone.
A chaste donkey.
She's chaste. And so it appears that no one came forward to defend Jacques, who was executed. However, the donkey was acquitted.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that lovely? However, I was thinking about it in this, and initially when I read this story, I assumed that Jacques owned the donkey, but the more that I've thought about it, I don't think he did. And I think it was someone else's donkey, which is why so many people came forward, because
that makes sense.
It really sucks to have your donkey executed because creepy old Jacques come along.
that's
in the
such
barnyard.
A point. Oh,
so
Jacques, like at the very, Roger your own donkey. Don't go for someone else's. And I mean, like, to be fair, I mean, firstly, obviously, animals can't consent. Secondly, though, it's very different in that I don't think the animal would be traumatized. They're probably fine.
No, I think that they would be like, what is this? I just think that they would be so confused that it would freak them out.
Yeah, it's not a situation you want to think about or that's good. And I'm sure animal psychologists again could tell you more about the actual
Leave the
impact.
Animals alone.
Leave them be. If you have those urges, it's perfectly fine, but you need to go and talk to someone about it, not Roger your donkey. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay, so as well as donkeys, there's another pretty famous trial with animals, which is in 1510. We're jumping all over the history
jumpy.
And this is one of my favorites. I love it. So in 1510, a mischief of rats, the actual
is it really?
Group of rats.
Oh, that's great.
Invaded and damaged a barley field. And so, of course, they were sent a summons to attend trial. A written summons.
What did they do? Did they just like push it into nooks and crannies and down drains and stuff? Or
I think they delivered it to the field, and then the rats probably made bedding out of it and were like, oh, thank you so
probably,
much. I'm
or
so
ate
glad we're
it.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I saw somewhere that on the day of the trial, there were also like horns and trumpets being played to summon the rats to the courthouse.
Ooh, it's like a throwback to Pied Piper episode.
Yes, I thought that too. And
Yeah.
then, obviously, because rats can't read,
Yeah.
they didn't attend their trial. However,
Disgraceful.
their lawyer, Bartholomew Chassinet.
Oh, whenever anyone's called Bartholomew, you know it's going to be a good story.
So Bartholomew, their lawyer, did
Mm.
attend the trial, and he suggested to the court that perhaps the rats hadn't understood the written summons and that they should try again.
Try again. No, he was on to a good thing, and then he just knocked it out the window.
So the trial was paused. The summons were sent again, and the next court date comes along. No rats.
No.
Obviously.
No.
This time, Bartholomew argues that maybe the rats did know they had to come to court.
Right.
However, their lives would be endangered by cats and dogs if they left the barley field and came into town and came to the court.
Oh my God.
Therefore, it was
Yeah.
unreasonable for the court to request that they attend.
Did they move the court to the barley field?
No, the judge postponed the trial and no verdict is known.
God. One of my favourite little implication there is that the person who issued the summons to the rats had to issue one summons being like, dear rats, you're in breach of the law, please attend this trial. And then when Bartholomew's like, maybe they didn't understand, try again. The only logic I could understand with that is like, oh, maybe the English was too complex. So then the second is just like in giant writing. It's like, rats, come town hall, snacks, 7 p.m. Like,
yeah, so it's like
done,
and maybe like a picture of a rat from a field, like then an arrow, and then the courthouse is like the next option.
Yeah, that's true. Doing like rat hieroglyphics, like a rat giving a thumbs up by the courthouse. I've been well represented.
I just love this trial so much because also what I hadn't considered before now is that, okay, so obviously the people that are sending written summons to rats haven't quite understood what's going on with the rats.
Yes.
Does Bartholomew? Because I have always assumed that Bartholomew is like, okay, these people are clearly stupid, so I'm going to take advantage of that. Or is he like being genuinely like, oh, maybe they didn't understand, like you have to try again?
It's a really good point.
He did go on to become like a quite a famous defense attorney.
That doesn't necessarily say much because if the
because if the judge thinks
exactly.
Yeah.
Who knows how many people believed these things and how many people just went along with them in general.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit like Emperor's New Clothes. Like if the judge of the town is sending written summons to rats, then as like a general person, you can't be like, rats can't read.
Yeah.
Like I can't even read, so why can the rat?
Exactly. Dear Your Honor. Well, again, that's the problem. They can't say that, but just standing up in court and being like, hey, why have these rats been educated? And I am stuck as a feudal peasant all my life.
When the rats are allowed to become lawyers. Yeah.
Rats just going to Harvard.
There's another thing that I read that apparently it wasn't so popular in England to have animal trials because we had the jury system like from quite early on, whereas a lot of these trials took place with a judge and an inquisitor.
Interesting. And basically the common man would be like, the hell are you doing? You're trying a rat.
Well, they wouldn't, but yeah, so there was kind of the thought that you couldn't convince 12 people of a certain thing if it's an animal trial. So it was less common to do it in England because it was just like we had a different system. So it's not as fun.
Imagine being so stupid that you're like You understand that convincing 12 random individuals that you're right is impossible, but you don't understand that that probably means you're wrong.
Well, no, it wasn't. I don't think that like the people in Europe were like, oh, they aren't doing this in England because we're like, I don't think anyone was thinking that. I think it was like there was probably cases brought and
Mm,
then they were all like thrown out. And so then it just became like, oh, okay, we have to present this in a different way. And so
right, yeah.
in England, I believe that it was they still kind of followed Diadens and it was like, okay, well,
Oh,
if
yeah.
my if my cow has killed your child, then we kill the cow. And then maybe they would now I feel like
And give
this,
some
and I
money to the
know it's
church for some
grim.
reason.
Well, no, but I know it's grim, but
Mm.
if it's like we kill the cow, we sell the meat, we give the money to you, you
Yeah,
know?
well, that
Where
that
it's
makes a whole
like
lot more sense.
I feel like it offers more justice than just killing the pig or the cow
Well, yeah, in that achieves
because
absolutely
you get
nothing for the afflicted party.
yeah,
You just
apart
now have
from
a
blood
cow hanging from a
justice.
tree. Yeah, I guess if
Yeah.
they want vengeance.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, who are we to question us and
Well,
we don't want to put rats on trial. I
yeah,
like halfway through that sentence I completely changed my mind
yeah.
on my own opinion. Okay, so this is the most intriguing one and
Mm,
unfortunately all the detail I have on it is right here. I tried, but I
okay,
cannot find any more information.
okay.
In Marseille, 1596, Evans reports that a
Mm.
group of dolphins
Oh my
were
god.
tried, convicted, and executed, but gives no more detail.
God.
Dolphins! I assume they were stealing fish being a
Uh,
very medieval concept of, well, not even medieval, but a stupid concept because they're the ones who eat the fish and they need it.
yeah.
But that's my
God,
theory.
that's so. I mean, and how would they? How if it's a pig or a cow? It's like right, well, it's in the pen there. You can just go and kill it if you must. Um, but dolphins. I mean, how are they gonna execute a dolphin?
Well,
You'd have
they
to
probably just strung
get
them up and let them die.
well, and yeah, I less mean how you're going to execute the dolphins as how are you going to get the dolphins to come to you to and then grapple with them in their element, and it's just a lot of work.
I don't know. I don't know, and that's why I want more details, but Evans gives us nothing but that.
Blimey. So
So I'll
dolphins
also
in
remind you,
Marseille, where I mean, I'm not that familiar with the geography of France. Do you have any idea what river they were supposed to be in? I don't know.
it, mu- it must be.
The Seine, the Rhine. Is Marseille by the coast? I'm
It
really revealing
must
my
be by
ignorance
the
here.
coast, Martha. It cannot be an inland
Yeah,
place, and they're trying dolphins.
well, right, but
I
then
nearly hung up on
they
you because of that.
then the Inquisitor or what have you is going to the sea and going, yeah, that's the dolphin, that's the guy, go get him, go, and
That's the one.
and we're we're believing that people have successfully. Well, I mean, I suppose dolphins are fished out of the sea, but it's just so stupid. There are so many questions.
It's stupid, and I'll remind you that, like 1596 is like late Elizabethan rule.
Yeah,
Like
things
it's
were
not
happening at
like
that time that are not stupid. So how this
it's just so
stupid
weird.
was continuing. Yeah.
Um, and then another fun, like just a little nod, case that's interesting is in 1519,
Mm,
moles had invaded a field,
right.
and it was decreed that instead of being killed, they had to all leave. However,
Mm.
moles that were elderly or had young or were pregnant were given 14 days grace, where
Oh,
at the end of the 14 days they had to leave, but it allowed them time to, I assume, pack up their
yeah, I was gonna
possessions,
say, like, what are they gonna do? Say goodbye to the field.
find a new place to live for their
Yeah.
babies. I don't know, but this was the case. And I don't know how it's
Oh.
enforced either, because it's like, well, Like,
I mean,
how do you get that? Like, telling a mole to, like, going up to a mole and being like, oh, we've decided in court that you need to leave. You're allowed 14 days because you appear to be an elderly mole. But
right.
in 14 days, you need to be gone. And the mole's like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, no.
I have one theory as to how this could have worked. The only thing that I can imagine is if they had trained moles as bailiffs and sent those moles into the field to be like, time to go. They're in
Well,
like little
my
jackets with cudgels.
kind of like in Watership Down, where there's like the cute
Oh,
little
I've
rabbits,
not
and then
seen it.
there's
I've
like
not
the.
seen it. I
Don't
know it's.
worry.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And then there's
all right. I won't.
hench, and then there's hench soldier rabbits, is all I'm saying. So
Right.
it's like the normal people rabbits, and then there's ones that are like,
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah,
soldier, watch
exactly.
out.
I think in general, the only way this could work, and it wouldn't work, the only way that notionally this could work, in general, would be for humans to have trained other versions of that animal to get across the message or kick out
I would assume what actually
the
happened
offending
with both
party.
the moles and the rats is that they sent in cats and ratter dogs.
Oh, that's probably more likely.
Because if they wait to the end of the 14 days, on day 15, they say, well, they haven't adhered to what we said, and so we are now
We
legally
posted
allowed
the
to kill
relevant
them all.
notices. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good
So
point.
that's my assumption, is that like they didn't pack up their things and leave because they're moles and they don't understand the law and what's required of them.
Oh, it's so sad.
And therefore they were all killed.
Moles are so cute as well. Like, not that it should matter, but they are so cute. I love moles.
They are cute and tiny.
They're so small. Yeah. Yeah. That them and bats. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of varieties of bat, and some of them are
The little
horrific.
bats, you mean?
But the little bats, yeah. Tiny and fluffy.
Cute.
And cute.
Yeah, but no, I'm always astounded by how small a mole is.
And to dig up, because you see evidence of them everywhere, molehills all over the countryside, and it's big old mounds. I mean, they're not big, but in relation to the mole and the amount of ground that it's covering, it's a lot.
I always assumed with molehills that the mole was about the same size as the hill, sort of the size of a badger.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was like, well, I wouldn't need to dig such a massive hole if it was, you know.
Yeah. They're just bougie. They're like an extension.
So, we're coming to the end of our tale. However, even though most of these cases were in the medieval period, Tudor period, you know, all around those times where no one knew a lot.
Yeah.
We do have some cases that are more modern.
Oh, God.
So, in 1916 in Tennessee, there was a parade, and there was an elephant in the parade.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And the man that was riding on the back of an elephant was a man who had only just got this job and had no experience working with elephants. And so he was riding on the back of the elephant. The elephant knocked the man off and stomped on his head and killed him. And so then all of the people who had previously been enjoying a lovely parade decided that they would hang the elephant.
That's unwise as well as wrong. Just logistically, not a good idea.
So the elephant was hanged from some sort of crane.
Oh my God.
And after the elephant had died, it was discovered that the man who'd been holding a spear had poked the elephant in the face with the spear, and the elephant had a sore tooth. And so she was just reacting to somebody poking her hurty tooth.
Oh no.
Poor elephant.
So who was this fella with a spear? Is he just in
he
the
has
parade?
a name I've just forgotten. He was employed to be the elephant handler, but he'd never had any training in elephant.
He was the guy on the elephant with a spear and was just prodded her. Oh, well, what an idiot. I'm imagining he was like an out of work actor. You know, when actors put on their resumes like, I did a sword fighting class. For 3
apparently
weeks
he was homeless before he got this job, so it could have been the case.
Just like, I ride elephants all the time, everywhere. I'm surprised you haven't seen me. I have 3. Poor guy, but also
so
poor elephant. Jesus, just don't
poor elephant.
use wild animals in your...
I feel most sorry for the elephant because, like,
Yes.
yes, obviously the guy had no training, and so it's not really his fault that he was killed by the elephant.
But at the same
also,
time,
like,
it is because he had no training. Therefore, it is his
well,
fault. If he had had training...
yes, but generally, like, if somebody is injured at work and they've not had
Oh, I
any
see what you mean.
training, it's the employer's, like,
True.
duty to train them, not his.
True.
So they're all victims here.
All victims. And just the hanging, I don't understand, especially in 1916 at this point. Like, we've kind of left behind the idea that hanging
shoot
is...
her, but her hide was too thick.
God, but it's just it's such a genuinely horrifying image.
I know, this is the one where I was like, oh, that's sad. Like, the other ones, it's like, yeah, it does seem like that pig killed a child and all of that. And obviously the elephant also did kill the man. But it's like, I feel like it's different when it's an animal that's been taken completely out of its natural environment and being
put in a
forced
situation
to perform for people.
Yeah, exactly.
In Macedonia, is that still what we call it?
Maybe. I feel like it probably has a democratic republic of. I don't know, and I am sorry. Well, not really. I mean, I can't know everything.
Fun flag. Let me have a look.
Yeah, I think it does.
Of like
Although in my head I just have a macadamia nut because it sounds a bit like Macedonia, but that's not it.
It is a sun.
Oh, lovely. And it's, am I right in thinking it's near Spain?
What country is Macedonia today? North Macedonia.
Oh, all right, cool.
Well, I feel like that's probably what it's called. Anyway, there.
At the time of the happening, Macedonia.
No, probably not. Anyway, you know how like dodgy websites like use like old names for like African countries, and you're like,
yes,
not sure it's called that anymore.
Yeah, it's when you see something and it's like last updated, 2020, and it's like blah, meanwhile in Czechoslovakia, and you're like, why? No.
Well, yeah, and it's just like not an African country, but it's like, all right, no. Steve, who's in his 60s, why did you not use the name it is? But in Macedonia / North Macedonia, a bear stole in 2008 in North Macedonia. Oh no, you've frozen.
No, it's fine. I'm still here.
Right. In 2008.
Oh, that's recent.
In 2008, in Macedonia / North Macedonia.
We've got that.
Just to clarify for the shouting, is I had to retake for editing and various things, and every time I tried to speak, Martha would just talk. So that was really
That's not true. That's genuinely not true. I talked once.
No, it isn't. No, but it is on my end.
Oh, because of the
the lag.
Yeah.
So a bear stole some honey and ransacked the beehives.
No.
And it was required to appear in court. It didn't.
2008.
Yes, and it was convicted in his absence. And the state had to pay I believe the equivalent of £1,750 to the keeper.
God.
For the damages, because the bear was endangered, so the keeper was unable to protect his hives.
Well, I suppose, to be fair, that does seem like the best settlement that could have come of that, but it's still weird that the bear was involved at all.
Look how far we've come.
Look how far we've come.
Yes, it is odd. It is odd that they requested the bear's appearance in court.
Yes, yeah. But hey,
why would you want a bear to come into your court?
A very good point. What would they have done if it had said, hello, yes, I think I'm supposed to be here at 12 for my hearing? They'd be like, and
it's wearing a suit and a hat.
Yeah. Accompanied by the pig, by the body of Christ pig, which is still my favourite meme now.
My favourite one's the although it was Friday pig. Because if it had done it on Thursday, it's fine.
I like the idea that it went on a rampage specifically because it was a Friday. It was like, I don't even care. I'm going to do it. It robbed a bank just before.
I think also your favourite wafer pig, I believe when it was written about, it was said sacrilegiously ate a consecrated wafer. So
So
it's like the idea that the pig knows what it's doing
yeah,
is sacrilegious.
or that it tricked the priest into giving it communion. The priest thought it was a human. It was like hooded and very demure.
But
It
pigs
takes the
can't
way for its
kneel.
delicate little snout. Well, maybe it was very dexterous, but I mean, in this universe, the pig has disguised itself as a human, so I feel like maybe it could kneel, and then it just throws back its head and is like, ha 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 ha, sacrilege! Oh, body of Christ, don't mind
Oink,
if I
oink,
do. Just
oink.
camply runs away.
Oh no, I imagined when it threw its hood off after eating the body of Christ, that then it starts like on all fours, like running around, like yelling oink,
Then
oink,
it suddenly
oink, and
becomes
like
fully
knocking
pig.
benches over
Yeah, pig
and like
bad.
making eats a Bible. Anyway, there we are. Those are the animal trials.
That was both fun and horrifying. Thank you.
That's how I feel about it too.
Yeah, yeah. Like genuinely actually thinking about it, I think just because it's quite a graphic punishment that a lot of them undergo, and quite graphic things that some of them did, it
Yeah,
feels quite
I left
sickening.
some of the graphic keys out
Oh God,
because I didn't think it was relevant.
blimey. Thank you. But yeah, in that sense, it's like more horrifying than some of the true crime things we've covered, because those you can kind of detach yourself from it, but also really funny. So what can you do?
Well, I think also with the animals, I
Mm.
think the thing that's like upsetting about the animal trials is that normally in our true crime cases where we know how it's solved and like the person who did it is caught, it's like, well, that's proper justice. The person who did it has like, you know, trial and were imprisoned or whatever. Whereas with this one, it's like, well, the beast who did it probably didn't really know what they were doing and they're just acting
Just a
as a
confused,
beast.
distressed animal.
And
Not
so
nice.
when they're brought to quote justice, it's like, is it justice or are you just hanging a pig from its feet?
Yeah, it's both unsatisfying and nasty.
But the trials are definitely interesting. There's some very good fan art
Yeah.
of pigs on trial if anyone's interested.
Really?
There's like there's like drawings from the time of like, well, not from the time, but like Victorians of like the mother pig on trial, and she's got her piglets at her feet and she's crying.
Oh
And
my God.
there's like a lawyer, like an accusatory lawyer, like pointing a finger at her. And they're all wearing
It's
silly
really
hats.
weird because like you was sort of saying some of it as, you know, well, they didn't really understand animal behavior in the same way necessarily in some of these periods, and animals were seen as property and la la la.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think a lot of this seems to be based on an understanding of animals having the same agency as humans and therefore
Yeah.
being culpable in the
Very
same
true.
way, which is
Yes.
really odd.
Yeah. Well, it's odd because also if their religious belief tells them that animals are below them and put on earth only for humans' use, then it
Yeah.
is odd to then say, yes, they are below us, however, they are
They're
deserving
capable
of
of
the
human
same.
intelligence and vindictiveness and needing justice.
Yeah, but I reckon it's not really for the animal, is it? Like, I don't think in any animal trial, apart from the one about the donkey, you know, we spoke about, it's not like the trial is where the pig is allowed to say, yes, I did bite the child's face, however the child was coming out with an axe, because even in that defense they would probably say, okay, well, you are a pig and so we do kill pigs, you know, so then it's like there's no defense for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, it's all, none of it makes sense.
Whereas I think sometimes in a trial it can be allowing somebody to defend themselves. I don't think that these ones were really for that.
No.
But there we are.
Well, the weird things we used to do.
We love pigs on trial.
Pigs on trial. It kind of sounds like a
trial.
prize dish. And what are the pigs on trial?
What's the pigs on trial? Oh, well, it's pigs trotters
With
served on a
wafers.
hempen bed with consecrated wafers as the topping, madam.
I would find that I would probably order that in a restaurant just for the lol of it. If it were pigs and
You
wafers.
would eat pigs trotters
Pigs and
wafers on a hempen bed.
I certainly would.
Well, that's what I'll give you next time you come to my house.
Oh, good. I mean, to be fair, that's probably not going to be for another 13 years, so it's fine.
No. Also, I'll probably have to source the trotters from like either a butcher's, legitimate, or a pet food shop, illegitimate.
Illegitimate trotters.
They are still trotters, but they've been like, well, you're not one to
Dogified.
balk at dog food.
It's true. Apparently, I ate dog food on New Year's one time, and the thing is, I hadn't been drinking at all, but I have no recollection of it. So maybe it was the tree itself. Dogs are just off their faces constantly.
Yeah, this delightful. It's like fake bacon. Treats. Bacon. I actually had some vegan bacon the other day.
Oh, how was it?
Bacon, it's called. Well, let me tell everyone about how you ate dog food first. You can't distract me. The bacon, they smell like smoky bacon. To be fair, it smells like Frazzles, if anybody has enjoyed Frazzles. And Martha was like, oh, that smells lovely. May I please try some? And the way she asked me as though they were my snack. Like, may I please try some? It's like, yes, my dog's snack. Like, sure. And you ate some and you said it wasn't that good.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that.
You said it smells better than it tastes.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine. I remember what it smelled like. I remember being appetized. I must have repressed it.
You're always appetized by smells that you shouldn't be.
Oh, have we told the story of the olive sick? Is it time to tell that story? One time, well, Martha and I were walking. There's no easy way to put this. Martha and I were walking somewhere. I was overcome by the smell of olives. I went, oh, this is amazing. I feel like we've said this in the Athena and Loki episode, maybe, but
maybe. But you were going, how delicious.
Well, I didn't sound like an idiot, but I was
later
voicing...
you were revealed to be an idiot.
The circumstances proved me so. I was saying things like, oh, I've not had olives in ages. God, I want some olives.
Oh, if I can probably smell a restaurant. Maybe I'll go there to get my olives.
We rounded the corner. There was some green sick. It was pretty evident where the olive smell was coming from. I didn't eat olives for a while after. I know, actually, that's not true. That's not true. You know what the weirdest thing is about this story? I came home that day. Dad had bought some olives. I was like, perfect, just what I wanted, and I ate them.
No, but the way I remember it is you were having a lovely sniff and having a wonderful time, and then I noticed the vomit on the floor, and
it was like neon green vomit. It was horrible.
Yeah, and I think I exchanged a glance with our friend who was also there to be like, do we tell her that she's enjoying the smell of vomit? And it was kind of like, we have to tell her she's enjoying the smell of vomit because we can't allow this to keep happening. Because we crossed a road and then it was kind of in the doorway.
It was nestled in a cranny.
It was nestled in a cranny, and I believe it was that I then was like, Martha, maybe stop enjoying the olive smell.
Yes, no, it's coming back to me. Yeah, and I was crushed. I was absolutely crushed. Not for long.
Well, you
clearly
would be if you enjoyed the smell of someone's vomit.
Yeah, I mean, the sense of shame
it made you hungry.
It's quite evident. There was no hiding. It was like it was pungent. It was clear where it was coming from. Yeah. So that's something that happened one time.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Other Marthas podcast, the show where a drama student and a film graduate talk about things we have no business knowing about. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do subscribe or follow our podcast on all the various sites, and also give us a little like, a little review, whatever you want to do. Do it. Bye.